Welcome to English Lane. In this video, you will learn the complete life story of Nelson Mandela. You will practice English listening, improve your pronunciation, and grow your vocabulary. What you will learn: clear English speech rhythm and stress, real-world history, politics, and leadership, words and phrases for academic English, values, courage, forgiveness, and service. Pronunciation key: apartheid. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born on July 18, 1918 in Maveso, Eastern Cape. He belonged to the Thembu royal lineage among the Xhosa people. His father, Godla Henry Mfakaniswa, was a local chief and advisor. His mother, Nosenkini Fanny, taught him kindness, faith, and discipline. As a boy, Mandela herded cattle, ran in open fields, and listened to elders' stories by the fire. He learned dignity from tradition, patience from nature, and respect from community.
His childhood name, Rolihlahla, loosely means troublemaker. It became a symbol, a boy who would one day trouble injustice. After his father's death, Mandela was raised by Chief Jongintaba Dalindyebo, the Thembu regent. This move changed his path: access to formal education, new ideas, and wider horizons. At mission schools, a teacher gave him an English name, Nelson. He studied at Clarkbury, then Healdtown, with strict discipline and high expectations. At Fort Hare University, he encountered debates, student politics, and dreams of equality. He learned that education is a tool, and character is a compass. A protest led to his departure from Fort Hare, but not from his purpose. Mandela moved to Johannesburg to avoid an arranged marriage and to find his own path. He worked modest jobs, mine security, law clerk, while studying law by correspondence. He met Walter Sisulu, a wise guide who opened doors to activism and community.
Johannesburg was unequal, yet electric, a city of harsh realities and big ideas. Mandela's eyes opened wider. Law could protect the weak, but unjust law must be challenged. He enrolled at Witwatersrand and faced racism firsthand. Perseverance became his habit. Mandela joined the African National Congress, ANC. With Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, and others, he co-founded the ANC Youth League in 1944. They believed in mass action, boycotts, strikes, civil disobedience to confront unjust laws. Mandela married Evelyn Ntoko Mase. They had children, but political duty demanded time, travel, and sacrifice. The Youth League pushed the ANC toward a bolder strategy: organized, disciplined, non-violent resistance. They drafted plans, trained volunteers, and built a national movement from street to courtroom.
In 1952, the Defiance Campaign called people to break discriminatory laws peacefully. Volunteers entered whites-only areas, refused curfews, and challenged pass laws. Arrests followed, but fear fell. Mandela and Oliver Tambo opened the first black law firm, defending the poor and the voiceless. In 1955, leaders from across the country met at Kliptown to adopt the Freedom Charter. It declared, quote, "South Africa belongs to all who live in it," end quote. The charter imagined a non-racial, democratic future: education for all, equal rights, shared prosperity. The state struck back. Mandela and hundreds were arrested in the treason trial, 1956. Years of hearings drained time and money, but also built solidarity and legal experience. Mandela endured bans restricting his movement and speech. He learned to lead under pressure, to plan under watch. As the decade closed, hope and danger both intensified. The movement stood at a crossroads: continue peaceful protest or adapt to violent repression. In 1960, police fired on unarmed protesters in Sharpeville, killing 69 people. Blood on the streets changed the debate.
Mandela concluded, when peaceful protest is crushed by bullets, strategy must evolve. He helped form Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK, Spear of the Nation, an armed wing focused on sabotage of state infrastructure, not the tax on civilians. Mandela went underground, new disguises, safe houses, coded meetings. The world now knew him as the Black Pimpernel.
In 1962, Mandela was arrested, sentenced for leaving the country illegally and inciting strikes. A raid at Rivonia exposed documents on MK operations. The Rivonia trial followed, with charges of sabotage and conspiracy. In 1964, Mandela spoke from the dock. "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. If needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." Those words traveled the world. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. Robben Island was cold, hard, and isolating. Mandela worked in a limestone quarry under a bright, burning sun. Dust harmed his eyes, letters were censored, visits were rare. But prison became a university of struggle. Mandela studied, debated, mentored, and exercised discipline daily. He trained his mind as carefully as his body. Mandela was moved to Pollsmoor Prison, later to Victor Verster. Time had changed South Africa. International pressure grew. Sanctions, boycotts, moral outrage. Inside government, some leaders realized negotiation was necessary. Mandela began secret talks with officials, careful, principled, patient. He insisted on core conditions: release political prisoners, unban the ANC, end apartheid, hold free elections. He would not trade justice for comfort. On February 11, 1990, Mandela walked out of prison, 27 years older, unbroken. He held Winnie Mandela's hand. He raised his fist. Crowds cried and cheered. The world saw a leader free in body and always free in spirit. That same day, he spoke of peace, discipline, and the long road ahead. Freedom had arrived, but also responsibility. Mandela returned to the ANC as a negotiator-in-chief. With F.W. de Klerk, he navigated violent tensions, extremist threats, and political traps. Talks led to agreements: unbanning organizations, freeing prisoners, writing a new constitution, setting election dates. Violence flared. Mandela appealed for calm and unity. He visited communities in grief, preaching discipline and hope, never revenge. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections. People waited in long lines: black, white, Indian, colored, everyone. Tears, songs, and sunlight. Nelson Mandela became president, the nation's first black head of state. He thanked those who struggled, praised those who forgave, and promised a future for all. The dream of the Freedom Charter stepped into reality.
Mandela's priorities were reconciliation, institution building, and basic services. He supported the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, STRC, under Desmond Tutu, a moral forum to confess crimes, hear victims, and seek conditional amnesty for truth. It was painful, imperfect, and courageous. His government worked on housing, water, electricity, healthcare, education, and rural development. He strengthened the rule of law and signaled to investors and neighbors South Africa would be stable, democratic, and open. Mandela wore the green jersey of the South African rugby team, once a symbol of division, now a signal of unity. When the team won the 1995 Rugby World Cup, he presented the trophy with a smile that healed. Stadium cheers became national therapy. Mandela's public greatness coexisted with private struggles. His first marriage to Evelyn ended under the weight of activism. His marriage to Winnie carried love and controversy through harsh decades. It ended in divorce. Later, he married Graça Machel, finding companionship and peace.
Separation, sacrifice, and loss marked his personal journey. He acknowledged his imperfections with honesty and grace. Mandela served one term and stepped down, teaching the world the meaning of democratic succession. He championed HIV/AIDS awareness, especially after losing his son, Magatho, to the disease. He founded the Nelson Mandela Foundation to protect memory and promote dialogue. He supported peace efforts across Africa and inspired global campaigns for justice. Even in retirement, he remained a gentle giant of moral authority. Mandela's memoir, Long Walk to Freedom, shares childhood lessons, prison discipline, and the architecture of hope. He wrote about patience, strategy, forgiveness, and dignity. His words teach that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Nelson Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013. The world gathered in gratitude. Presidents, citizens, children. They celebrated a life that turned pain into purpose and enemies into partners. Every year, Mandela Day invites people to serve their communities. His legacy breathes in constitutions, classrooms, and quiet acts of kindness. Begin with dignity. Respect is the first policy. Study your opponent. Strategy beats anger. Discipline daily. Morning routines build inner strength. Make room for forgiveness. It's not forgetting, it's choosing a future. Serve and then step back. Leadership ends well when it hands over well. I was born in Mvezo. I learned dignity from my elders. I faced unjust laws. I chose discipline. I worked for reconciliation. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born in 1918 in a quiet village called Mvezo among the Hausa people of South Africa. His childhood was simple, herding cattle, listening to elders, and learning respect. After his father's death, he was raised by the Tembu regent who gave him access to education and a broader world. In mission schools, he received the English name Nelson. At Fort Hare University, he discovered student politics and the restless desire for equality. He moved to Johannesburg to shape his own destiny. He worked humble jobs, studied law, and met mentors who guided him towards service. He joined the African National Congress, helped form the Youth League, and pressed for mass, disciplined resistance against unjust laws. The Defiance Campaign called people to break discriminatory rules without violence, to accept arrest, and to defeat fear. With Oliver Tambo, he opened a law firm that defended the poor. In 1955, the Freedom Charter announced a bold idea. South Africa belongs to all who live in it. But the state replied with trials,
bans, and intimidation. Then came Sharpeville. Unarmed protesters shot down. Mandela concluded that when peaceful protest is met with bullets, strategy must change. He helped form Umkhonto we Sizwe to sabotage the machinery of oppression, not to harm civilians. Soon he was arrested. In the Rivonia trial, he defended the ideal of a democratic and free society, declaring that it was an ideal for which he was prepared to die. The court sentenced him to life. On Robben Island, Mandela lived under harsh conditions, hard labor, harsh weather, limited contact. Yet prison became a place of growth. He studied, exercised, mentored, and organized hope. Later, he was moved to other prisons as the country's politics shifted and the world's pressure increased. In secret meetings, he insisted on principles: unban the ANC, release political prisoners, end apartheid, and hold free elections. On February 11, 1990, he walked free. He called for peace and discipline. Negotiations began. Violence tested the talks, but Mandela urged unity and patience. In 1994, South Africans of every color stood in long lines and voted. Mandela became the first black president. He built bridges through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, asking the nation to face the truth and then choose the future. He focused on basic services, the rule of law, and the dignity of all citizens. He wore a green rugby jersey to heal a nation divided by symbols, and a stadium roared with joy. After one term, he stepped down, showing the world how power should pass peacefully. He fought the stigma of HIV/AIDS, founded institutions to protect memory, and supported peace across Africa. He wrote about patience, courage, and the discipline of hope. When he died in 2013, the world did not only mourn a leader, it celebrated a teacher. Today, his legacy lives in laws that protect the weak, in classrooms that teach the strong, and in quiet choices to forgive without forgetting.
You have listened to the complete life of Nelson Mandela, slowly, clearly, and thoughtfully. You have practiced listening, pronunciation, and powerful vocabulary. If this helped you learn, please support English Lane. Like the video, comment your key takeaway, and subscribe to English Lane for more life-changing stories and English practice. Learn English, learn leadership, build a better world.